everybody once again. Let's just start all over and go what we have for today. Today we'll be having our power automate training and power virtual agent training. At least so far so good. We've gone our power apps training, and some of us have been able to build an app in one way or the other. And I want to say well done to everyone who has been striving hard and who has been putting effort in making this getting skills and making sure they are good at it. So I'll just quickly introduce you to who we have for those who are joining us. Um, for those who are joining us now.
Is it just me or I can't hear you again, Esther? Is it my network?
Please, can you ask me my screen now?
Yes.
I can see your screen.
Okay. I just want to introduce you to who we have for those who are joining us for the first time. Welcome to WatchPeep. This is WatchPeep. WatchPeep is an NGO for women, by women ready to impact the world and challenge the status quo globally. We are WatchPeep and we train so many women on different platforms in order for us to acquire the relevant skills. We will take you through what we've trained women through so far and what we've been doing so far in WatchPeep. And I would like to introduce you to our global founder of WatchPeep, person of Mrs. Mojisola Olawipo. She's the founder of Everything on Data and founder of WatchPeep also. And for those who are joining us, WatchPeep means Women Global Education and Poverty Eradication Empowerment Foundation. So she's an expert in data and business intelligence strategies with over 12 years across industry. She has trained so many people in data analysis and business intelligence. She has a platform for everything on data in which we train people also to become data analysts and business intelligence, to become a data analyst and good at business intelligence also. She has experts, she's an expertise in data analytics, machine learning, strategy, data governance, data science, and so she's actually the one behind all this group training and every other thing. She's a great person to record with. Please, I would advise you always get to meet her. Then next, I'll introduce myself as a director of program. My name is Esther Ididi. For those who don't know me, so some of you have been seeing me on the platform for some while now. I'm the director of program for WHP, and I'm a business intelligence also and data analyst. Also, I got my certificate from everything on data, and I'm also an educationist also. So our favorite quote in WHP is say, make sure that what you are doing today is getting you closer to where you want to be tomorrow. Whatever you are doing today, look at yourself that you are going to get there by tomorrow. Don't just remain in one place and believe things might get better. But once you keep doing it, you are getting closer to where you want to become tomorrow. So let's go further. Our executive summary that we are 21st century woman. What is a registered NGO for women focusing on the following areas? We are helping women to build excellence capabilities for women in STEM related fields. engaging women in key life skills and self-discovery. For how you be able to discover yourself, how you be able to become what you actually want to become as a woman. Then we help to teach current soft and digital skills to women for relevance in business and the world at large. So what are the skills we are teaching to women? Digital skills, tech skills that you can actually reckon with the world at large. Since we know that even the world now is going in a tech world now, and we are trying to bring that technology to women. We don't just want the men alone, believing they are the one that can take the space of the tech world. At least we women also, we should be able to strive and do something in that aspect also. Then sustainable partnership for women of skill. So of skill and become more empowered. So our target segment, we have global women ambassador, global community. We're working on that. We want people to actually come in to register for our global women ambassador. We want to have ambassador in every community we belong to. Every community we find ourselves. We want Watch people to be known across all area. All right, then our vision for Watch people says reimagine, become what you want to be known for. Reimagine it. What you want to be known for, continue to imagine it at all times. Okay, this is what I want to be known for. I want to be known as a tech analyst. I want to be known as a tech guru. Keep imagining it. I'm sure you'll definitely get there. Then choose who you want to be. Create it. Whatever you want to be. You as a woman, you have the power to create it yourself. Don't wait for someone to start making you feel as if you're irrelevant or you're nobody, but you should be able to create what you have for yourself. Then dominate your space, be relevant, it's all yours. Dominate whatever space you find yourself, dominate it. Always see yourself as someone who's relevant in that position. And I believe I see you getting there. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
I
I
can
can.
hear you.
Okay. So it doesn't look as if I'm talking and those are people are not hearing. All right, our goals in Watch Peak. At least we are aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. That's from the UN United Nations, and we have no poverty, zero hunger. So very soon, Watch Peak will be going to the streets to impact life. Also, we are not just impacting for women for tech, online, and everything, but very soon we'll be going to the streets looking at women who can actually empower in the streets, women who can actually impact also in the street and help on the street also. So our vision, our goals is actually aligned to what we have here. Then we have quality education, going to schools also to talk to female students also. It's part of our goals also. Then we have the industry innovation and infrastructure. At least the ones we are doing online, training for women and everything, they're actually in line with what we are doing. It's in line with our goals. So where we have presently our trainings that we've done so far, we started since May last year, 2020. We had training on analytical thinking skills. We had training on women mentoring program. Then in February this year, we had a blockchain training, and we had business model canvas training. For some members who have been with us right from the beginning, I'm sure they'll be able to understand the trainings we've done so far, the way we've been doing it so far. We had training on e-commerce also, e-commerce, placing your business, e-commerce store. And we have members who have been able to build stores, they own stores of themselves. Some people are even making money from building stores by themselves. We help people to create an online business where they can display their business and people patronize them from there. Then we have training on power apps also. That's just concluded training we had last month, and so far so good. Members have been able to build and have from themselves. Then where exactly are we going in WatchPeak? We are building excellence capability for women in STEM related field. Non-stop women education, mentoring, empowerment, various reach out and community programs. So that one will be coming up soon. Our reach out and community program will be coming up soon. Then teach current soft skills. We've talked about that because we need women to get themselves relevant in anywhere they find themselves. Then how do we get there? To drive our sustainable growth for women, we are open to various areas for support grants and collaboration also. Then those who we have partnered with so far during our training, we have Infineon. Infineon is, we actually have an internship program going on presently for Infineon. The details have been posted on the platform for those who are interested to can actually do a follow up with what we have on the platform. Then we have collaborated with Ladies Do Tech, everything on data and tech how. So that's all. And then our program so far, these are program on blockchain virtual training. Then our program on business model canvas and training so far. Then these are training on e-commerce that we've done so far and so on. So this is all we have in WatchPip. So thank you very much and once again welcome to WatchPip. So going back to our activity for today. So today we have a training on Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents, and we have our facilitator on the ground in person of Jeremiah Sanusi. Please let's welcome him. Everybody, let's welcome him. Jeremiah Sanusi is our facilitator for today, and is a tech analyst, a business tech analyst, specialized in that, and he's taking us a training on Power Automate and Power Virtual Agent training. Welcome, Jeremiah. Please let's welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay,
I
great.
can hear you.
Thank you very much. That was a very great introduction to WatchDiv. I want to really personally congratulate you and the founder as well on this groundbreaking, amazing stride that you guys are doing. I think it's important to state that living a life of impact, that's about what is required right now. How much impact you've been able to drive from your foundation is really noteworthy to mention. So thank you for all the hard work you've been doing, and I hope that what is in the nearest future would grow as great as possible. Okay, so I see that we are trying to still come in. So what I have in mind for this session is that I want it to be as hands-on as possible. So I just wanted to confirm from us if we all have our PCs and if we are comfortable to maybe just follow me as I show you. I don't want it to just be a one-track flow. I want you to also log in, try and create this flow, build this chatbot as I'm also doing it and showing you. Is that okay? Do we have our PC? Are we able to do that? And for those that have the PCs, if you do, I want to just drop some few login credentials to the chat window now. Please try and take that, log in to the environment, and let's see what we can do. The next step. Okay, so I just dropped, I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is like 7 login credentials. The username and the password follows. So I don't know how we're going to share this, but, oh, okay, sorry, Vivian. Okay, I got your message. But for the few of us that probably have a PC, and you're probably not connecting via your phone, if you can please take the login credentials that's showing on the screen. Let's try and log in and just follow. Okay, I will be sharing my screen in a few seconds. Okay, can we see the screen? Hello, can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see your screen, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you for that. Okay, so quickly, I'm just going to give you a short introduction to what the platform means. I know we've been introduced to this at the last session. I understand we've done the Power Up session before now. So that's actually great. So we'll just briefly just talk to what the platform actually represents and why do we need automation? How can we build a very simple, basic conversational chatbot? Okay, so we might have probably seen this slide before somewhere. So this is more like the conversation starter for anything Power Platform. And then I so much like it because it has a lot of information just by, from this picture. The Power Platform is Microsoft's low-code platform. So by low-code platform, it means you do not need to be a developer. You do not need to be someone that has a lot of, deep expertise in writing code before you build something, right? So you want to build a simple application. You want to build a chatbot. You want to automate a simple process, okay? The Power Platform from Microsoft gives you that leverage without you necessarily having to learn how to write .NET or write Java or whatever funky programming languages you've probably heard of. So basically, the Power Platform is made up of 4 components: the Power BI, the Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. So what each of these represents is, in itself and by itself, it has a lot of capability to transform the way you work. So Power BI, we're probably familiar with that. That is one of the leading analytics tools out there. Okay, it helps you with those funky reports, right? Dashboards that you can build, and it can connect to many data sources. And also Power Apps, just like you had the last session, you are able to build simple Power Apps that you can just start using within your organization. So if you think of processes like, how do we request for a leave, right? How do I submit my expense retirement or whatever? Even if you're a business owner, you want to manage cases, manage incident tickets from customers, and you need something simple in-house for you to run this, collect this data, analyze this data, and act on it. And you want to build it. You can't afford to go and employ the services of a developer. Power Apps gives you that capability to build that simple application. And then Power Automate, right? So Power Automate is more, think of it like the orchestrator, right? So you want to connect your newly built application to a data source in, let's say, SharePoint. How do you move data from the user interface app into the database? Power Automate helps you to do that movement, that orchestration. So it's an automation tool, and this tool has a lot of capabilities, right? You can connect to multiple systems, whether it's SharePoint, OneDrive, Excel Online, maybe Dynamics 365, or even non-Microsoft products like SAP, Oracle, whatever database of choosing. Power Automate is that orchestrator that transfers data from one system to another system. So if you want to create an approval process, somebody has created an entry and you need to notify somebody for approval, Power Automate helps you to do that. You want to send notifications to customers, okay? Maybe when they create a new service request. Power Automate helps you to move that notifications, and it helps to send that email to that customer. Or you want to remind somebody of a pending task, right? Power Automate is that tool that helps you to send out notifications. It helps you to set your SLAs, set reminders, escalations, and all sorts of things. And also the last component, for now, is the most recently added component. It used to be the first 3, but Power Virtual Agents just recently added. So we just thought of how important it is for people out there, your customers, to engage with you. And before the pandemic started, I guess the use of chatbots had not really been a thing then, right? We were still comfortable going to, let's say, you had a dispenser, for example, right? You used your debit card, and then, for whatever reason, you got debited and you didn't get value. Ideally, you would have gone to your bank to complain. You meet with a customer service representative, fill a form and all that. They tell you to come back for resolution. or perhaps you want to call your telecoms provider for whatever reason, you are billed, overbilled or something, you have to complain. So typically we would always go to these physical locations before. But when the pandemic happened, we noticed that physical interaction had to reduce as much as possible. Even many offices, many organizations still today, they've kind of adopted this remote work style. They've kind of adopted everything being done remotely. And this is when the need for a chatbot kind of became much more stronger. So I don't need to visit that office. I don't need to go to that location. I can just chat with like an agent, chat with their employees, or try to fetch data. Okay, and then we see the use of this Power Virtual agents helping organizations to scale. So it helps them to reduce the number of complaints that people would typically come if they had come physically. So with Power Virtual Agent, it's also a very powerful local tool. You do not need to write a code. You can just build a simple chatbot, right? Train that chatbot, and then fetch information from your source systems or push information to your source systems. Whatever it is can be handled with the Power Virtual Agent. So that in itself is just an introduction to what the Microsoft Power Platform, that's the local platform, represents. And as you can see, underneath these 4 components, you see at the core of this, you can see some other capabilities like data connectors. Now, I'd mentioned that you can connect to any system. It can be a Microsoft application, whether your Office 365, Excel Online, SharePoint, SAP, or anything non-Microsoft. So we currently have the capability to integrate to over 400 systems. Like you have over 400 data connectors. And what that represents is, if I can just switch and show you us what that means. So on my screen, I'm trying to call up the connectors that are currently available within the Power Platform engine. So these are popular connectors that we're probably familiar with. So you want to send data to OneDrive. You want to fetch data from SharePoint. You even want to push data to Twitter, right? So these connectors are available for you to use once you start using this engine. And that's what it means by the over 400 connectors that I mentioned. And so some of them are free, some of them comes with your Office 365 licensing that you have. Some of them you probably need to procure something much more complex than that to integrate it. So just think of it. If that application is out there and you want to fetch data, you want to push data, right? You want to insert data, whatever it is, there are existing connectors within the Power Platform stack, as you can see on my screen, and a lot more than this, that makes that connection easy. It makes that connection very, very possible, whether it's within Microsoft or outside of Microsoft. Okay, so that's just a very brief introduction. Before I proceed, does anybody have any question or any comment just to ask or add about what the platform represents before we really dive deep into the hands-on section? Is there any question? Okay. Then can we also confirm if we've been able to log in with the credentials I sent earlier? So for those of us that have the PC.
All right, so everybody has an account that has been created already for them.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I guess that makes it a lot perfect. Okay, so on my screen is the home page for Microsoft Power Automate. Now, this is how I want us to think about this. If you just think about your processes, I want to believe that let's look at the easiest one that we all interact or interface with regularly. So you are in an organization, you want to move data from one point to another. You want notifications when something happens. You want to send approvals, right, to the requisite people for approvals when a record is created, or you want to notify a customer. This is the engine that allows all that to happen. And one good way for you to get quickly started, if we can just go to flow.microsoft.com, Just type in flow.microsoft.com on the web browser, and then that takes you to the Power Automate landing page. All right, so as you come to the Power Automate landing page, I want you to take for a second, just look at what the interface represents and presents to you. So if you go to the template, just at the left-hand corner of the screen, you have existing templates that can get you started with whatever process you have. You do not need to start, cracking your head on how to build a flow, how to create something. So let's say you want to create a record into SharePoint. And then when you create a record into SharePoint, you want a situation whereby a notification is sent. As simple as that. So what do? Let's just go to, on this template, you can just type the keyword SharePoint, for example. And then you are presented with so many templates, right? There's just so many templates. There's the one to say, do you want to add an item to SharePoint and send by email? Do you want some form processing? And it's whatever process that, that actually makes sense to you. This is, you have the existing capability from one of these templates. So for example, let's say when an item is created in SharePoint list, send approval and create item. Or we can actually just start and say, you know what, I just want to be notified before you do that approval. So you go to create. And then, so there are actually triggers that actually can get you started. When you click on the automated cloud flow route, it presents to you the triggers. So for a Power Automate process to work, what you need to do is that there has to be a trigger. Something has to trigger that flow to start working. Okay, so if we want to choose a trigger, which is when a record is created, for example, in SharePoint, as you can see here, I'm just going to click on this when an item is created, and you click on the create button. So it's going to open in the canvas for me the trigger action. So this is the trigger when an item is created in my SharePoint site that I'm going to specify. What do I want to see happen? So the first thing I want to do is to go to my source system, right, which is my data source, SharePoint. I'm just going to go and log into my SharePoint environment. Please feel free to stop me if I happen to go too fast. All right, so I want to go to my SharePoint list. I think I can just go from here. So I want to go to my SharePoint list. Okay, so just for the purpose of this, I have a list that I've already created, or we can just create one together, for example. So let's call this list update. I'm sorry. Please, what's the acronym again?
WOGP.
Okay, WOGEP. Okay, thank you. All right, so what I'm doing is to create the data source. I wanted to just show us how this can be done from the scratch. All right, so I'm trying to create my table. I want to add a column for, let's just say for name, and this is the first name. And then I want to add another column for last name. Okay, let's just add like an email field, for example, email address. or type. Yeah, let's just leave that. And let's have another column and call this a choice field, option set field. That would be seminar type, for example. Let's call the first option Power App. So this, for example, would be a participant trying to register which session he or she is interested in, Power App, Power Automate, or Power Virtual Agent. Okay, so let's stop here for now. So what we have here is a SharePoint list. And remember what I wanted to do from my Power Automate is to create a flow that will notify an employee of this organization when a new item is created, right? So now that I've created my SharePoint list, this is my data source. I want to reference that in my Power Automate flow. So I come to this site address to look for the SharePoint site address. So this again can be any data source. We just decided to use SharePoint. It can be any other data source, any database of your choosing. And then we are looking for the list name, which is WordBeef. This is it. Okay, so I'm saying when an item is created, this is the trigger. Now, before your flow can be completed, there is a trigger and then there's an action. So the trigger here is when an item is created. And then the action we want is for this flow to send an email when the trigger is done. We could also have like a Teams action, for example, right? To say when an item is created, send a Teams notification or an approval card inside Teams to the respective user. So let's just go ahead and create a simple flow. Now, on the screen, if you could see the new step here. So this new step simply will connect to the first trigger. And this is where I'm going to choose an operation. The operation I want to do is for it to send an email when that item is created. The third page on this view gives you the opportunity to just search for whatever comes to your mind. You may not be able to get the exact terminology or the exact keyword that connector is called, but of course I know I want to send email, right? And so if I just type in send email, by default, it's going to list all actions that are similar to my search keyword. So yeah, email is what I actually want right now when an item is created. And as you can see on the screen, there are multiple actions that can be performed when that first trigger is done. So all these are available for us to use. Okay, it depends on what the scenario you are trying to present, what it means. It depends on the use case that you're trying to act. If you want to send an email to internal users, so these are people within the organization, these are people that have the profiles in their Active Directory. You want to send emails to them, for example. I'm going to go with this connector, send email with options, or send an email. Okay, let's just make it simple again. I just want to click on send an email. When I click on send an email, by default, it's going to present to me who are the people that you want to send this email to. Okay, so just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to use this user, this logged in user. And the name of this logged in user is called admin. So if I type in the username, by default, it's going to present to me the Active Directory credentials of that particular user. So it automatically understands this, that this is the person you want to send an email to. And then what do you want to do? The subject is, let's say, a new item has been created. And then you can style the body, the content of your body, either way you want it. Hello. Font. Okay. And one other thing you can do is to reference the link to that SharePoint record. Okay, so you make it easy. I mean, I may probably get that notification on the go, right? Maybe on my device or my laptop, and I want to be able to access a record has just been created. So by default, again on the screen, you have the ability to choose from the dynamic content. So what this dynamic content means is that it lists to you all the fields, the parameters that come from your data source. So you notice we have first name, we have last name. These are fields that we created. But there are fields that are also out of the box that comes with it. So for example, what is the link to this item, right? So that when this user gets this email, on click of that link, it automatically leads into the SharePoint site. So I have the link to the item here. I can actually file this a little to say the link to the newly created item is. Then I come here to reference the link. By default, it adds itself to the content of the email, and then we are good to go. Like that. Let us start from this simple process to say when a new item is created, I want it to do this. Okay, and who is it sending it to? It's sending it to this user. All right, so what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and save this flow. Let's call this flow send email as that, and save it. Okay, so we want to go ahead and test this. Now, again, when you are trying to build your flow, you have the ability to just test it on the go, right? Before you probably push it. So you could probably want to reference this flow in a Power App, or you want to reference this flow as we are going to show us as we go ahead in a Power Virtual Agent chatbot. Okay, you probably have a chatbot, and then you have some flow somewhere that will go into your database to fetch the data. Okay, so you probably want to do that, but you know, as you are building, you want to just test on the go, just to make sure that everything works well. Okay, so before I test that, let me just open the email for this particular user, so that when that comes, we are going to see that. Okay, so now that my Outlook is coming up, my Outlook Online is coming up, I'm going to go ahead to test it. Now remember what the trigger is. The trigger is when an item is created. So that means I need to go ahead and create an item in the SharePoint list. Okay, so you have the option again to do the manually trigger, action, or the automatically one. So the manually definitely means, because I'm just testing this now, I would need to, just run this manually. But when I'm done with my complex flows, okay, it can just be a background process. So automatically means that flow can run at the background. You do not need to trigger it manually. But manually is at every point in time when you want to run that flow, you have to manually come to trigger it before it can run. So just because we are testing this now, it's going to be a manually triggered flow. Let's click on test. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the trigger, which is to create an item. Let's go to the SharePoint site. This is the SharePoint list that we created. Let's create a new record. Let's call myself Lisa. My name is Jerry. This is Sanofi. Well, it doesn't matter. Something at sun.com. And then the terminal type is, I'm interested in Power Tools. And then I click on Save. Now that that is done, the trigger has been completed. Let's go back to the flow. It says my flow is running. So I want it to show me the flow, the process. And you can see on the screen the green tick, right, for each step. So for each step, it tells me that this has run successfully. And then for this action, which is send an email, it also tells me that it has run successfully. So let's go and confirm. Let's go to my email to see if I got an email from here. There we go. Please be informed of a new item created. The link to this item is, so it's just going to return the old link to that item. So we can actually add some flows to this to say, you know what, I don't want to receive this on my email box. I want to receive this probably on my Teams box, right? And at that point, I want to kind of add some spins to this, that when newly items are created, they should go through an approval flow. And then I want that approval to surface on Teams. Now, we are now in the era of collaboration, trying to work remotely, or I could be mobile. I want to be able to access records on the go, right? On my Teams, records should come to me for approval instead of the traditional way of having to go to the system. What do? I was able to look for the email action. Now, since I want to use Teams, right, naturally I should know that out of the connectors, out of the over 400 connectors that exist currently in the platform, there should be a Teams connector as well. I may not know what it's called. Okay, all I need to do is to just check it out. And how best do you do to check it out? Just go and create a new tab, just the same way we did for send an email. Create a new tab, and then just type Teams. I don't know what the connector is called, but I know the system or the application that I want to send the data to, right? So on the screen, you have a list of actions that are related to Teams. So what I want to do here is for it to post a message to me on my Teams platform, okay? Post a choice of options. So yeah, I could probably use this or any other, but again, just look for the action, the connector that speaks to that situation at hand. And this kind of speaks to something I'm looking for. I'm going to select the post a choice of options as the float box. And then while it opens up again, it presents me an easy way to kind of relate with this. I do not need to crack my head about what's going to be the script, what's going to be the code, what's going to be the complexity for me to get this to work. By default, it shows me, oh, you want an approval, right? Okay, so definitely your approval item should be approved, for example, and then maybe reject. Okay, so I want this to either approve, I want the approval, the user to either approve this record, or I want him to either reject this action. So, but who is the recipient again? We're going to use the same flow, the same login user. Just type in the first name. It's going to bring the credentials of that user. So as you think about this within your organization, you probably want to run a flow for data entry. When new records are created, who should the approval records go to? Okay, it could be yourself, it could be a super user on your team, it could be your manager that needs to approve those records. So automatically, because they are within your Active Directory, their name will automatically come up here in this field. So I want this recipient, system administrator, to receive this notification on a Teams platform when a new item is created. And then what message do I want to show him? Let's put the headline first. A new item has been created. Okay. Hello. Of a new record. And let's see, do you approve? Let's give them the opportunity to know what records have been recently created. First name. So you can actually fetch for the variable last name and then the session interested in. So what's the first name? The variable filter here, by default, once you click on this message box, it's going to list out all the fields that you currently have. So this is the first name field. Remember, we created this field. It's going to sit in front of the variable name. And then the last name field is going to sit in front of the variable name. And so on and so forth. So let's just have this and see. And of course, the session interested in as well, seminar type value. So do you approve? It's going to come as this as a message. So when this message is sent to this user, we want him to either approve or reject. Okay. And then when you send this kind of thing, you want to now try and introduce the next step, which is a conditional statement. So I want to know that when this user approves this new record, what should happen? Okay, notify the customer or the person that's created it that your new record has been created. If not, still notify him or her of a rejection. Okay, so Yeah, this is what we want to do. But before we do this, let's just try and test this again. So I'm just trying to show us one connector at a time. When a new item is created, send an email, post this option. Let's test it. Again, we're going to test this manually, and then we go and create a new record in the SharePoint list. Okay, so let's go to our trigger. Let's go here again and create a new record. Let's say is interested in Power, and then let's save this. So this record is created. That trigger has been completed. So let's see the actions that follow. The first action is to send an email, and then the next action is to send a chat to the teams of this user. So the first one has been done, right? Which is the email. Let's go check. Yeah, so this has been done. Let's go and check if the next one is still running. Not completed yet. Just refresh this thing. It's still running. Wait for it to run. There you go. A new item has been created. Please be informed of this. The first name is Dami, and then the last name is this, and the person interested in. So this is exactly the record that was just created here recently. If you go to the flow, yes, still run is not completed because, of course, it actually expects me to still add an action. This is an approval flow. So what should happen if it's approved or not? So I deliberately left that out just to show how this can be done easily. Now, before we start going into the complex stuff, let me stop here. Do we have any questions so far on this process, or are we able to follow? Are we able to create something as I was also doing from this side? Anybody? You can come up mute and just ask a question. Okay, for the sake of time, if there are no questions, I want to assume we are following, right?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay, great. All right, so before we go to the chatbot part, now this just shows us how simple the process flow can be. So when you think of your organization, when you think of the process that is a pain to you. So for example, one way I try to tell people is if you have paper processes in your organization. So let's say you are in operations, you are with the customer engagement, you are with the customer facing team, and then customers fill forms at every point in time. And then somebody, perhaps yourself, have to open those forms when they've submitted them, extract the data from those forms, and then type them into a source system. Now, that can be a lot of pain. I mean, if it's just 2-3 forms per day, maybe you can work with that. But imagine if you work with an organization that has a lot of complaints regularly, in their hundreds, and your own job is to just open these forms one by one to extract data. That can be a pain. And when we think of automation, or when we say automation, you will not appreciate automation until you have that kind of big challenge, when that gap is so huge, in such that how can I extract data from forms? How can I make the process for data entry easy? And that leads me to my next point, which is called AI Builder. Now, the AI Builder part, we probably heard of it. Let me just quickly go to what the models, what it represents. So you think of form recognizer, you think of entity extraction. How can I extract text? How can I extract data from forms? And then, without having to manually open those forms one by one to, extract data from them. We are going to build a model, an AI builder model right now. And then what that model will do is such that when you send, or when a customer sends an email with that form, Okay, let's say it's invoice processing. Okay, you want to process invoice. Or let's say you want some kind of reversal and then you filled a customer complaint form and then you sent it to an email. Or let's say perhaps you even, fill that form manually, handwritten. So when you send that email, using that same flow logic that we understand, the trigger and action, automatically this model should go into that email box, extract that data from that form, and fill it in somewhere. And that's the process we want to run now. And then if I could show you from the forms that I have there so we can appreciate this. This is a PDF document that shows us an invoice document, for example. Now, what I'm trying to say in essence is that that model will go into this form, extract this date value, September 21, 2015, extract this invoice number, 1726, extract this name, and automatically enter it into our SharePoint list. That is an exciting one I want us to try. So we are going to do this together. We are going to build a model together that can carry out this process. If we are ready, let's go. Okay, so still on the Power Automate canvas, this is where all that orchestration, all that automation happens. Like I said, I want to build a new AI model. So when I come here, these are the different types of AI models that you can do. Category classification, you want to extract entities, form processing, object detection. So you think of object detection, for example, you are in a facility and then, you don't want people to fill in logbooks, tenders register. You just want a model that can, help them once they swipe their card. It automatically detects the object or detects the image in that particular card and allows entry. So, for example, this form is able to read information from the form and save that information from this kind of document that I showed you earlier, and then enter that data somewhere. So we are going to go with the form processing one. And let's name this again. We are going to name this model WOGP. W-O-G. All right. So I'm going to click on create. So you do not need to worry yourself about how to get that technicality done. The Power Automate, it being a low-code platform, provides that capability for you. All you are just doing is to leverage it. You notice that since we started, I have not written a single code. Okay, so it's possible for you as a business user with little or no IT experience, you are able to simply just build something. So now that we are trying to build a model, what do we want to do? On the screen, it's going to show you the list of steps that you are going to follow to get that done. So we want to highlight what our fields should be. Let's go back to the document that we opened and let's determine what our field names should be. So I want us to capture invoice number, right? For example, so we're going to define invoice number. So we know. Let's call this invoice number. That's number one field. Which other field are we interested in? Let's go to the form. Date. Let's capture date. Okay. So let's go and capture date. Date. Which other field are we interested in? Let's call it contact name. Maybe customer name. This fabricant, for example. So I'm going to go here and add that, and I call it contact. Yeah, let's just leave it at contact. Let's look for two more fields. Which other fields do we want to capture? Email. Okay, let's capture the email. Let's go here and define the email variable, email address, and then let's look for one last field, total. Yeah. So let's capture the total field. Now, these are fields that you're defining as you're trying to create this model. Now, the way this works is that the next step is for you to now train this model. So what you are typically saying is that you want the model to have that intelligence, okay, to look at the form and learn that when you see February 15, 2015, this is the date field. When you see maybe Jeremiah, this is the contact name. When you see something that looks like email address, that is the email address. So that's what we want to do now. Now, to train your model, you probably need like a few documents that have the similar layout. Okay, just like you have on this screen, it says you can add 5 or more documents with the same layout. It can be any file type. So let's go ahead and add from our data store. I'm just going to upload from this invoice. Let's just add 1, 2, 3, 4, and we leave the 4th one. Now I'm trying to add the documents that I want to use to train this model. Now that I've uploaded, I'm trying to upload the document. The next step will be to train this document. It's currently being uploaded. Yep, complete. And then the next step now is, so it needs at least 5. So I need to add one more. I need to add the last one. Upload. Okay, so now that it's complete, by default, let's go ahead and analyze this. Now the analysis may take a few minutes. So what's going on here is that it's checking the form and it's trying to understand the layout properties. So for example, invoice is where? Okay, this is where the invoice should be. Okay, maybe this is with the email address. The invoice number is somewhere at the center of that document. So when you look at your internal processes, let's say you have a complaint form that is similar. Okay, so if I walk into your organization, let's say I come into your bank, for example, and I want to complain about dispense error, it's the same complaint form that the person that wants to complain about transfer error, right? It's the same form that we're going to fill. It could probably be the same form that someone that wants to complain about maybe limit, token reversal or whatever it is. So you look for that kind of document that captures multiple processes in your organization, and you are going to use that to train your model. Okay, now that the analysis is complete, I now want to go ahead and start tagging the field. Okay, so I'm on the first field. Let's just pay attention to this now. I now want to do the real work of identifying the variables. I'm just going to do it once, and then we are going to move across the 5 forms. So I'm going to come to this. As you can see, the mouse cursor, it looks like a cross right now. I'm going to drag the date field. So while I'm clicking on my mouse, we just capture the date value. I'm going to drop it. And by default, it lists for me that, this value that you just circled right now, what field name is it? Or what should I attach it to? The model is asking me because I'm trying to train it. Okay, so this will be my date, right? I'm just going to select date. So take that as date. It has identified it as date. Now I'm going to go to this invoice number. I'm going to do the same thing. What should this be called? It should be called invoice number. It checks this. Email address is here, right? Sales. I'm going to do the same thing. Take this as email. I have contact and total to go. So what should the contact name be? What do we call the contact? Okay, let's call the contact Jacob Stephenson. That is the contact name. It has captured that. I have one field to go, which is the total, right? And the total is somewhere here. I'm going to just capture this as my total. Now, what I've done is I've successfully trained the first document. We are training it with 5. I'm just going to click on the next cursor here. It's saving that configuration. And by default, when it gets to the second form, it has captured for me by itself 4 fields out of 5. It's still trying to understand the 5th one. I'm going to go ahead and help it. This is email that is missing. Okay, so if I do the same thing, I scroll to the next field, I expect it to have captured, if not all. Okay, so it's trying to understand this field. It has automatically captured date, invoice number, contact name, and total by itself. So again, it needs help with email. I'm just going to do that as well. And then I'm going to go to the 4th document, do the same thing. It needs just this. I'm just going to capture this. And then the 5th one, just the email. Right. So what I've done now is I've successfully tagged all my documents. So again, I want you to imagine this as that form in your organization that would require a lot of data entry, okay? And then someone has to constantly, daily open this up, okay? Type in the date, type in the invoice number, type in the email, type in the contact. You can just build a model out of Power Automate to automatically tag all those fields for you. And then we are going to see how this works. I'm just going to click on next. And then I click on train. So my model is being trained. So when the model is trained, then I can use it in my flow. So what we want to do once the model is completely trained is we want to now simulate that process by sending a document that has that same layout to an email box. And when it gets there, I want to extract those fields, send it to a user on Teams to approve, and then when they approve, then the record will now enter into somewhere. That's what we want to do. So, okay, I think my model is done. Is it completed or is it still? Oh, so it's still being trained. Now let's go ahead to our SharePoint list and let's just create one last list. Okay, so this is what I want us to do. We want to create a table that will accept all these fields from forms. So let's go ahead and quickly do that while this is being trained. I'm going to head straight to my list. Let's create a new list and call it, let's call this World Pitch Invoice Table. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, this was me creating a new record. So I was going to go back to the list. So we are not creating a new record. We want to create a new list. Okay, and let's call this invoice table. Okay, let's create it. And then we just want to give you this field that we're going to extract. Okay. All right. So the first field that we want to create is what? The contact name. That is this field, this one here, Jacob. Okay, so we've created that. What's the next field? The next field is dates, right? So let's create a new column and let's call this dates. Okay. What's the next field? Invoice number. Let's create another one and call it invoice number. Invoice number field. Which other field do we have? Email. Let's create another field and call it, email. Email. And then the last one, I believe, is total. Total field. Go here. Call this total. Now that I have my list set, let's go back to the model we are training. Is it done? Yes. It's completely trained. Look at the status. Now for me to use it, I need to publish this. So let's just open it up, publish it, and start using it. Okay, now that it's opened, let's just go. I can actually test this, or let's just go ahead and just publish. Okay, so publishing, published. Okay, so what we've done up to this point is to simply build a forms processing AI model. This model is also, this AI builder capability is part of the amazing functionalities that Power Automate has. So Power Automate being that automation tool, orchestration tool, you are able to use it to do any form of automation, anything that makes you use paper right now. Okay, you should think of how you can replace that process by using Power Automate. And this is an amazing way of doing that by using this AI builder functionality. So now that we've published our model, can we now go to our Power Automate flow? And then so we've built our model, we have our SharePoint site. So what we want to do now is to create a flow that will automatically extract fields. It will call this model, extract the field from this model, and write the data into SharePoint site. So that's going to be the process we want to quickly run. So let's go back to create.
Okay. Hello, Jeremiah.
Hello?
Sorry to cut you.
All right.
Yeah, I just know if the members are actually following and doing exactly what you're doing, so you don't take them too fast. Some
Yes.
might be taking their time to follow up with what you are doing. Please, is there anyone who is lost or needs to get what has been done so far? From those who are following and who are using their system to follow, please. From the members, please. Hello. Um, is there anyone that needs to get any information of what has been done so far, or who is lost on what we are doing presently? Please, let's respond though, so we can move forward.
Is it clear up to this point, or do
Hi,
we?
Esther.
Sorry?
Well, I'm actually following, even though I'm not
Okay.
practicing, but I'm following. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
okay, okay, it's
thank
better.
you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you can go ahead, Jeremiah. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so apologize if I'm actually running too fast. Trying to just check our time so we can do PV as well. So what we've done up to this point was to build a model, an AI model, and that AI model would help us to extract data from forms, okay, from documents, whatever form that you currently use. Again, if anything would require you to today in your organization extract data manually, this is this is an automated way of actually getting that done. So we are using Invoice just for this simulation. It may not be Invoice in your own use case. Okay, it could be a customer complaint form. It could even be an account opening form. Okay, so account opening forms follow the same layout. If I want to open an account with your bank, for example, and it's a savings account, I believe it's the same form I'm going to use that Mojisola will use. I believe it's the same form that Mojisola will use, that Esther will use. So forms that have similar layout like that, you can actually automate that process. That instead of our account executives, those that are opening accounts in the branches, instead of them having to open each package one by one and start extracting data, name, first name, last name, email, DD, and all those things, you can train a model like we've just done and then automate that process so that subsequently when customers, when prospects leave, when they fill in new AOD, account opening documents, the model can be triggered to go into that document, extract that data, and dump it into your Pinnacle or whatever CRM or whatever system that you currently have for customer management. That is the idea behind this model. So it could be an account opening document, it could be a complaint form, it could be a request form, forms that right now have the same layout. All right, so that's what we've simply done with this model to train and then extract data. So we want to go ahead and create the flow, right? That will make all that happen. So we are going to go to create, and then we are going to, so it's going to be triggered by designated event. And the trigger is this. What we are simply using right now is when a new email arrives. So when, as a customer, I just submitted a document. Maybe you've given me the information. Once I'm done filling this, I scan it, send it to contact@accessbank.com or contact or at sellingbank.com. So when that email arrives that box, the flow will start. So the trigger is when a new email arrives. When a new email arrives. There you have it. So I'm going to click on that, click on create, and then it opens my canvas for me. It's asking me to sign in, just authentication is required. This is my first time. Beg your pardon, I will need to go and quickly get the details. A minute. Just want to get the details to log in. And, minutes. Trying to log in. Okay, just this. I just found this platform. Okay. Trying to just confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So this is the trigger. So I've authenticated myself when a new email arrives. And again, you can expand this connector to say, how can I specify or how can I maybe filter whatever? Because this email could probably receive so many items in a day, right? You could receive an email from your colleague, receive an email that does not have anything to do with the document that is being sent. So how do you filter this? So you could just go to the subject filter here and say, okay, if the subject contains invoice, just for example. Okay, so this could just be the filter that I'm going to use. Now this is, and then maybe it has attachment. Okay, so it has attachment and it contains invoice. So what I've simply done here is that I've instructed this connector to not only start working when emails arrive, but those emails need to have subjects that have invoice in it. And those emails could include attachments. So this way I've tried to filter out other kinds of emails that I receive on a regular. So this is the first trigger. Now when this happens, what's the next thing? I now want to call the AI builder model that I've built. So remember, again, I said there are over 400 connectors currently that runs on the Power Platform. So if you build something or you want to reference something from another system, as long as it's available, it's in the cloud or it's on premise, you can just go ahead and look for it. So I want to have the action, which is the AI builder. You can see it's one of those connectors that automatically shows there. So I'm just going to click on AI builder. And then the action I'm looking for is the one that says, I want to process information and from that form. So I'm scrolling through different actions that are related to AI builder. This is the one, process and save information from invoices. So sorry, I don't think that's the one. I think it's the process and save information from forms. Let's go again to AI builder and then let's process and save information from forms. Now we want to look for the AI builder we just built, the model. This is it, what if model. What's the form type? Let's just leave it at PDF. It could be anything. And what form are we trying to process? So remember, the form is going to be an attachment in the email that has been sent here, right? So once I click here, by default, it has this. And then automatically, it has taken all those connections. Now, what do I want to do as the next action? I want to extract that data from the forms and present it to me on Teams, okay, as an approver. So right here, while I'm inside this box, it has automatically categorized and classified it in this way. I just click on add an action, and I want to call on Teams, okay. So the Teams, the user is going to be mobile, and they probably won't have access to his email, or is not interested. He wants to be using Teams. You have a policy to always drive Teams in your organization. This is a very good way of driving adoption. Okay, so I'm looking for that action that will say post a choice of options. Okay, as a flow box. So this is it. Again, you remember the one we did initially. I want to either approve or reject this from this document as a comment, this records. So I have the approve option and I have the reject option. If it, and then let's specify the recipient who is receiving this. Again, I'm going to use myself, the logged in user, admin. If anybody had probably logged in with the credentials I used, I sent initially. I could probably put the credential here. Did anybody log in with any of those credentials? Just to ask. So we are putting the header here, a new item has been created. What's going to be the message? So this is where I'm going to list out the fields. Please attend to the new with the following details. So the form is going to have invoice number. So what's going to be the invoice number? Let's go to this variables, this dynamic context, and look for the invoice value, invoice number value. Automatically shows there. Let's go for the next field, which is invoice date. And again, we want to reference the invoice date here. Let's look for it, date value. What other things? The contact that is on that form. Let's look for the contact value. And I think the last one is, what is it now? Amount, I think. Or total, sorry. It's all total. So total value. Let's look for the total value and just display it. Okay, and let's have the user. Do you want to approve? Yes or no? Now, this is what the user is going to get. Now, if the user wants to approve, we want to introduce a conditional statement. Now, we are taking this a step further from what we did initially. That, okay, if you want to do this, let's now kind of introduce a conditional statement. So a conditional statement is yes, if yes, do this, if no, do that. It's just to introduce a loop to say the items that you are receiving right now, what action are you taking to it? So if you want to approve, do this, if not. So to do that, we are going to introduce, again, as you can see on the screen, it is suggesting to me, right, by default. I actually didn't have to crack my head to say, what is that connector called? The condition is so smart, the system is so smart to say, we know that you are trying to do something here, and it includes you looping through something. Okay, so by default, we are presenting to you a condition control, which we believe is the next action. I actually didn't have to search for this, it automatically just goes. I'm just going to click on that. Yeah, okay, but one I want to use is just a switch statement. So I don't want to use that. Again, I can use that if I want to. Let's try and use a switch statement. Okay, so I want to use a switch control because I feel that just makes it a lot easier for me. I can use any other statement. So for this switch statement, which option did I select here? This option, is it the approve option or the reject option? So I'm going to have here the selected option value. I want to, make it based on the selected option. So here you have selected option. If it is approved, what did you do? Send an email. Send an email. For example, yeah, so let's send an email to somebody on this call. Okay. Can somebody give me their email address? Oh, okay. It has to be one of the users here as well. So let's just try and reduce this. Log in and just send it. Did anybody log in with any of the credentials? No? Anybody? Did anybody
I
log in
just
with those
posted one on the chat, so you can send to that one.
Okay. I can't see. I have to go to the chat. Oh, okay. So the user has to be, okay, so what I'm trying to do is for users that are logged in here, they are in this domain, you won't be able to send outside. You don't think you'll be able to send. I was thinking somebody would have logged in with that. This might not work. because the user does not belong to this domain. Okay. Return is to inform you of the approval. Let's just leave it at that. Let's check our flow again. What are we trying to do when a new email arrives there and it has a subject invoice, it has an attachment? I want to call the AI builder model we built to extract the data and to post the actions to in form of a team chat to this particular user. And when it's done, if it's approved, send an email. Okay, even though this is still pending, let's just run this. And then for the purpose of this, we want to test it now. So we will need to log in with one of those documents. Invoice. Okay. Let me send it. Let me send it to the chat. I want somebody to please send it as an email. Oh, I'll send it. Oh, okay. I was going to send it. Let's see. So I want somebody to send this as an item to that email address. Mojisola, are you on your thing? Moji, are you there?
Which item is that, Jeremiah? Is it the one you sent to the email she dropped on the
No.
on the
I want you to send an email with this document as an attachment so we can test this flow. Can you check your Teams?
Okay, let me try and access it.
I just sent something to your own Teams, the personal Teams. Did you see it? So I've sent it to your Teams and the email address. Do you have it? While you're trying to get that to work, let's see. Let me try and just send it here from my email box. And then so I'm trying to send something here. Browser PC. Oh, okay, so let me queue up. And I new item oil. Okay, so I want to attach the document, invoice. Let me just pick this one. So the subject contains invoice, and I'm sending it to this email address. So that is being sent. This is the email address that we are going to use. Let's test this flow. All right, so what I'm doing now is to tap the trigger, and the trigger is going to send an email. When a new email arrives here, and the subject is invoice. Now the flow is trying to run. It's expecting a new email. When the new email arrives, and when it arrives, I'm going to call the AI builder model to extract the data and all that. So yeah, so you can see the new email has arrived. And now the next thing I want to see happen is for it to extract the data. So this is the new email that has arrived. This is the document. So is it currently running? Check it. I'm expecting something here on my flow. You can see this is it on my flow. So let's go ahead and open the document just to be sure. And this is the document I was sent. So the invoice number of this document is 1899, right? Let's go to my Teams just to be sure that that's 1899 November 3, 2018. 1899, this is my Teams, November 3, 2018. The name should be Jacob Stephenson. Let's open it again just to be sure. The name is Jacob Stephenson, as you can see here. And then the total should be $81.41. Let's go to the Teams. Is that what was sent? $81.41. So as you can just see, all that data from that form that I require as specified in my flow has been extracted. And now if I go back to my flow, it's still running, right? So this one is completed, right? And it has posted a choice of options to my Teams, as you can see here. So do I approve or reject? So if I click on approve and I click on submit, I want to send an email. And then that one is still running. So it says my flow ran successfully. Okay. All right. So this is just to show a little bit more complex flow. Okay. So, remember we started from the simple one when a new item is created on a SharePoint list, send an email. So now we are infusing the AI builder capability. This is so powerful in such a way that it improves the turnaround time for forms processing. You don't have to open it. You can see it just extracted all the data for me from that form. So if you have hundreds of this, right, you attend the customers that send you documents every day, and if you're thinking of you just sitting down and opening up the documents one by one, that's a lot of work. Okay, you can just build a flow, call an AI model like this, let it extract the data for you, and let it impute the document for you, impute the data for you. Okay, so I think we stopped at the email. Did that email come? Did you get the email? Hello?
Is it the Watch Brief 8 email?
Yes. Did it drop?
Yeah, an email from Microsoft Power Apps.
Yes.
And
All right. Yeah. So so that's just a little bit. Considering the time, we could actually go deeper and deeper and deeper into Power Automate. Trust me, the next one, which is Power Virtual Agent, we would appreciate it more, because what is going to happen at that front is that it's going to go into a database to fetch data. At this point, before I go further, do we have any question or any clarification required, either from the form processing side or from the sample simple flow? Any questions? Please come off mute and just go ahead.
please, does anyone have any questions so far before we continue with what he has done and said so far? Fine, if most of us are not even for maybe we don't have our PC with us following the train, at least we can actually follow even if we don't have our laptop. But at least just for understanding's sake, if you have any question.
Okay, so I would assume Everybody's
Ask
following.
some.
Sorry?
Huh? What did you say, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I said I would assume everybody's following and it's clear. Is that assumption correct?
Please let's respond. Are we clear? Or we want to put it on the chat. If you are following and you're still with us, please put it on the chat. Let's hear from you. Let's know your view. For me, I would want to ask a question. Concerning the mail that came in on the email you sent that I received. Does it mean once that email comes in, it shows the account has been verified or it has been working well, or is that a
Oh, okay.
confirmation that?
So, yeah, so based on the steps that we've specified here, what it simply shows
Yeah.
is that, you can see this is the first action. When a new email arrives, the next one we expect is that it should go and call that AI builder model, process, extract data. The next thing should be it should, put out all those values in a Teams chat, which it has done here. And then the next thing is for it to look at my option. Did I approve or not? And because I approved, it should send an email. So this is a top-down flow approach. Each step, if you notice, there was a green tick, right, at the tip of each step. So this is just to show you that what you've written here, okay, the flow has run successfully. So if you have another step to say, okay, I don't just want you to notify me, I want to go ahead and write that data into, we created a SharePoint site here, okay? So if we want to now go ahead and now write that data into that SharePoint site, we can go ahead and do that, okay, by just having an action here to say, when it's successful, when it's approved, I want you to now insert that item into my call system. Okay, I'm calling SharePoint, and then maybe the connector I'm trying to look for is create item. So I want to create that record into my SharePoint site. Okay, are you following? So this was the last step, right? So this is the next thing that I want to see happen. I wanted to now go into this SharePoint site, this table we created, and create an entry. All right, so I'm going there. I want to reference the site that I created, Jerry site, list name, motive, invoice table, and then I want to specify, as you can see again, it's going to list out the fields. Okay, this is Power Automate doing all this intelligence data matching for you. You don't have to come out and now say, these are the fields I created, contact, date, invoice number, email. By default, I didn't have to worry. It just list them out for me. So what do you want to do? So I want my title. We did not create title, so let's just have me. I want contacts to be what? I want contacts to be the value that has been extracted. Okay. Which is what? Let's just put the field. So this is contact value. Go and match it to contact on SharePoint. I want date. Go and match it to what it is called on SharePoint. I want invoice number. Go and match it to what is called on SharePoint, right? Invoice number, this is it. And then email, do the same thing for email. Go and map it to what is called. And then the last one is profile. Go to my SharePoint and map it again. So this is what is going to happen. Right? So the expectation is I should follow this process, create that item. So for the purpose of this, let us test this again and see if this will work. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and manually test this. Let me send that email again. Okay, so I'm just sending it again to the same user. Okay, the subject contains invoice. Send. So now my flow is running. So the first thing is when an item is created, I expect a new email with a new invoice, right? So when that happens, the flow should work. Now the flow is running. Okay. So expecting the email to drop. Okay, now my flow is running. Okay, I believe the email has dropped. This is the email that just came in now. Now, the next thing is I want it to come out in my Teams, right? It should extract all that data from the form, the document I just sent. I'm expecting that to happen. I want my Teams to notify me when that happens. So you can call multiple connectors, multiple systems in one single flow. Right here, I'm trying to call AI Builder, okay, to say extract that data. So it just came in. And then it's asking me, do I want to approve? Yes. So if I click on approve, you should get an email, and then you should go ahead and create a record here. So the end result is for me to have the item here, right? So it ran successfully. So let me go to my SharePoint site. There you have it. Can you see? Automatically created it for me. With the name, the contact, the date, the invoice number, that. So just imagine how instant this has worked. And imagine you being a customer service officer or someone that interfaces with customers, and you receive 50 of this in a day. You know the time you would have spent to open your email, right? You would have probably done this, open the document attached, and then, okay, copy this one, invoice number, copy, paste. Come back, copy this one, copy this, paste. Copy this one again. You would have gone back again to go and copy the total number. There's a likelihood that while you're trying to copy the total value here, you might probably make a mistake to copy this one on top. But with automation, there is little or no error, right? It's smart enough to understand the field that is what. This is this. You recall that when we were creating the model, we were able to specify which one is which. This is the date, this is the invoice number, this is the email, this is the customer name, and this is the total value. So by default, it took that and then ran with it. So this is my flow. It says my flow ran successfully, and then I have the green tick. So do you confirm? Did you get our email again?
Let me check and confirm.
Okay, so I think at this point, for Power Automate, this is just to let you know how easy and how, yeah, I know this may be a lot right now for us to process, but as we go back to our daily work, as we go back to our daily task at work, and then we see some of these processes again, I want you to remember, right, that while you may not be clear on the use case right now, just try to picture in your organization the role you currently run, apps for those that are customer facing, for those that are in operations, for those that deals with a lot of paper processes every day. Just think of how this can fit into your process. The number of reminders you have to send for approvals, you can just automate this if you want to use Teams or whatever. Okay, and with this, I want to quickly run over to Power Virtual Agent, if that's okay. If there's any question, please ask. If none, I want to quickly proceed.
All right, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you. All right, so for Power Virtual Agent, the URL is powerva.microsoft.com. So this is the chatbot application from Microsoft. And again, just the same way we were able to do Power Automate without writing the code, the expectation is that here as well, I can just go ahead to just create something. So I'm trying to create a free trial. So that's long. It's cited on the US, but yeah, that's fine. Trying to create a free trial, and so let's call this with the chatbot. And then here we are only speaking English. As well, we speak here. And then this is going to be my environment. So this is very important. If you have a tenant that has multiple environments, so you want to be sure and be careful of which environment you choose there. This is the environment I've been using, CRM274. If you come here, you can see it on the screen on my Power Automate, CRM274.5. So that's the environment I'm going to reference. I'm trying to create my bot. Now, while that is being created, let me just quickly show us what the Power Virtual Agent bot can look like. Yeah, why that is coming up. Just a second. Okay, so this is a bot that I think is just one of the bots that I have here. Just a few ones. Okay, so if we look at this screen, I don't know about you, but if this is the first time I look at this and I see the top down, the flow chart, top down approach, everything looks a little bit not friendly, right? I mean, there's just a lot of joinings and all that. But what this bot really does is that it allows me to define how my flow will work. Again, just like Power Automate. So if I could just show you simply from here, again, in Power Virtual Agent, there's supposed to be a trigger phrase. If you've interacted with bots multiple times, you know that you need to type in something as the input, and then the bot will respond to you. So this is me typing in any of this phrase, for example. This is going to be my response. So the first thing it's more like a call and response kind of flow. So this is so I type in any of these phrases, and this is what the bot responds me with. And then the next step is the bot is going to ask me a question. Which of these do I want to ask about? Okay. And then, so if I choose this, it's going to ask me further questions. So that is the way the bot works. And that is what we want to build in this session. So let's go back and see if the bot is completed. All right, so there we go. So this is it. This is the Power Virtual Agent environment. And then on your screen, you have what we call topics. So on these topics, you have some topics that have already been created for you. So those topics are called system topics. So things like greetings, okay? You want to escalate, you want to end the conversation. So there's a flow to that. You want to, start over, you want to end, and so on and so forth. So these are system topics. And there are sample topics that you can also leverage. And so the way it works here is that you create a topic, you define how your flow is going to work, and then you just chat with it as you go. So let's go ahead and create a simple topic. I just call this inquiry topic. Okay, and then in this topic, we want to introduce what our triggers would be. So let's look for what triggers could be. The trigger, let's say, I want to learn about EVA, that's Power Virtual Agent. Power Automate is okay, that's another trigger. Maybe I got an error while creating a ball. That could be another trigger. So just think of anything that your users would typically want to complain to you about. You can just have any trigger phrase. Let's say PVA error, or let's say would if was to be one. Okay, so we can have multiple topics, multiple Power apps. So yeah, let's stop here for a second. So these are topics that you can, these are trigger phrases that will get your bot talking to you. And then the next thing we want to do is to go to the canvas. So in this canvas, it's going to open to us the top-down schema where you are going to build your chatbot. Again, all right, so on the screen, it already lists out all the phrases, all the trigger phrases that are already typed out, okay, to ask the bot to respond. So it has drawn for me the next action. So on this action, when you are building a chatbot, and this is the first call, the response could be you either trying to ask a message or, let me delete this. If you click on this, do you want to ask a question? Do you want to call an action? This is where you call it flow. Do you just want to show a message? Or do you want to end the conversation, go to another topic? So let's say this is our welcome message window. Hi there. Welcome to WorkBeef chatbot. How can I help you? Right? So this could be the welcome message based on the trigger that the user has typed in here. And so when you now provide this, let's say I want to ask a question or I'm not sure of how to resolve some certain issue. So I could just come here and say, okay, please specify the area of interest. So I could help you. And then in this window, this is where my conditions will come out to say, okay, the first option could be, is it Power Apps inquiry you want? Or my next action could be, is it Power Automate, for example? And the next one could be Power Virtual Agent. Now, the amazing thing, as you can see, the way it works here and what is showing on the screen right now is that as I'm typing out the options, it automatically just spreads them out for me. Okay, it understands that, okay, this next action could also lead to some other next question. This next action could probably lead to some other topics or some other areas. So it's already spreading it out for me. The flow chart is so easy and makes it easy to kind of interact with. So I could just go ahead and maybe give these values a variable name, as you can see here. I just want to call this request type. And as I try to do that, it automatically attaches that variable name to each of these values. So what issue am I trying to have about? Okay, so is it the Power Apps inquiry, is it Power to the Power Virtual Agent? So if it's Power Apps, what do I want to do here? Do I want to just create a message or what do I want to do? If it's Power Apps, let's just stop here for now. Please go to make.powerapps.com, get started. It's Power Automate. What's the URL? The URL is flow.microsoft.com. And if it's Power Virtual Agent, let's just put the message. To learn more, try it out on powerva.microsoft.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and let's just check how interacting with this bot is going to look like. This is just a first step. Again, don't forget, these are the triggers that we defined there. And then we wanted to just show us all these options and the messages. So I'm going to go ahead and just test my bot. So one of the trigger I had was WorkBeef. So when I click on WorkBeef, then the bot is going to respond to me. Hi there, welcome to WorkBeef chatbot. How can I help you? So if it's Power Apps, I wanted to present this to me. Okay, please go to make.powerapps.com. And then, yeah, so this is one way to get started. So I could actually make it a little bit interesting to say when I'm done, do you have any other question to ask? If not, can you please go back to the main menu? So it's just like you calling, if you call your telco provider, right? And then you want to do airtime recharge, you want to know about data balance, they will always tell you, the IVR machine will always tell you that if you want to go back to the main menu, right? That option is there, press 1, and then you go back to the main menu. So on this chatbot, we want to stimulate that experience here as well. Now, when I'm done with whatever is presented here, I wanted to go back to this main menu. How do I do that? So interestingly, let's just add one more step here to say, do you have another question? Would that be all? Yes. So would that be all if I say yes and then no? So if it is yes, just end it for me, right? End the conversation. Again, this is one of the actions there. Just end the conversation with a survey. But if I say no, I wanted to go back to this place. Now, the interesting part about this Power Virtual Agent is that you do not need to leave this topic, like this canvas area, to make that happen. Okay, so there's a very cool way of of doing that. All you just have to do is to come here, click on that node. When you click on that little circle there, okay, I now need to go back gently to the initial place that I've started. You can see it's already highlighted it for me, and I just click once. So what do we think has happened? Let's just go back again to see. If once the option is no, let's just follow that line. It automatically goes back to that first option here. So let's quickly test this to see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to reset this. And then I believe one of the trigger was error, right? Error, bots respond to me. I want Power Apps inquiry. Okay, please go to this. Okay, so I want you to ask me a question. Okay, let's try that again. I want you to ask me, would that be all? Error, that's the trigger. Power Apps inquiry. I think I know what happened. I did not save what I've just done. That's why it stopped here. So, you know, the step I just added now, I did not save that topic. So I need to come here and save the topic so that the flow will be complete. Let's go back. Let's start the trigger, error, Power Apps inquiry. There you go. Please go to this. Would that be all? If I say yes, it's going to end. Or if I say no, I wanted to go back. I'm going to say no. I wanted to go back to this question. Again, please specify the area of interest. Now, out. So this is just to show you how easy it is to run through a flow, a question and answer scenario from the chatbot, and then also go back to the top. So we can do the same thing here. And let's see if perhaps instead of me having to repeat this question, would that be all? And then put it here again, put it for Power Virtual Agent again. I want to make this a central, a common next step for these 3 steps. Okay, so a very cool thing I can also do is to just drag this so that it can come here. So when I come here, I drag this here. Okay, so it's going to be the common next step now for these 2 Power Apps and Power Automate. I want it to be the same for Power Virtual Agent as well. I come here as well, and then I drag it. So that when it gets to this point, the 3 of them can now have me. Either of them would have be all. Let's save this. And then we'll quickly test it again to see how this can work. I go back to my test. Let's do this. Let's choose Power Automate right now. Recreate this for Power Automate or Power Virtual Agent. It understands 3 options here and use the same unique node. Like a virtual agent. Okay. Example, if you call them, if you want to know about this, press this, and then if you want to go back to the main menu, just press this, and then it takes you back. Now, it is to quickly build a virtual agent. Again, the scenario may be different. The scenario may be you trying to educate a customer who frequently asks questions. And then instead of them having to come to your office, your location, to get the resolution to their issues, you can just build a simple chatbot that would, be exposed to them. Or it could be about maybe you work in IT, you work in HR, or whatever function you work in that you require people to constantly, because they want to know how to raise a service request. They want to know or maybe they have a faulty device or in IT, and you have some very simple FAQs. So instead of you having to answer organizations with the same answers, right? I mean, you are typically just supporting and managing people, giving them the same answers over and over again. You can just build a simple chatbot that would save you the stress of having to explain the same thing over and over again. So this could be, let's say this is if I could just quickly show you the other bot that I built. Example was for a bank scenario. So let's say this is an error. This is me, the user trying to interface with a chatbot. So it's telling me that what issue, related issue, is it an investment related issue? Is it an insurance related issue? So if I say it's a bank related issue, okay, so the bot is smart enough to say, okay, so is it dispense error? Is it card issue? Is it transfer failure? So if it's card issue, for example, what could happen? I say no, I have another pension issue. And then it takes me back again, and then I come to pensions. Okay, so if I'm at pensions and it's asking me, is it a voluntary contribution issue? Is it a remittance issue? If I click on this, it's going to give me the resolution and tell me without the all, and it's going to take me back to the main menu. So let's say I have an insurance issue. So again, it's taking me back to the main menu where I can select insurance. As I select insurance, it's asking me, is it life insurance, is it vehicle? You can actually customize this to be whatever. Example, it takes me back and again to the main menu. Do I want to have that? So I want to customize this. So as you can see this, these are the options. Is it banks, is it pensions, is it investment, is it insurance? So consider these as your customer service chatbot. And I have dispense error issue. So you just simply built a chatbot for me that can be published to your website. So that when I come and I want to log my dispense error related issue, I chat with the bot instead. Okay, and it's asking me if it is bank, can you give us the issue? If it is dispense error, again, it just lays it out for me. Do this. Do I want to go back or am I satisfied? It ends it from here. So these are ways where you can easily, swiftly. Are we following up to this?
Yes.
Hello? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sorry, please go ahead. You have a question?
No, I'm following the way you following, making the chat box flow. That's what I'm looking at. I'm following.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so this is like a first step. So now let's kind of change these and do something more interesting. So we want to fetch data, for example. And again, I don't want this to look a little bit more complex. So what I've done is to create a table in my common data service. Let me just quickly show us make.powerapps.com. I created a table and then I have a custom portal. This is a customer facing portal. And then, yeah, on this portal, I just called it an incident management portal. And then just a very simple form, fill in first name, last name, email, choose this, and then submit. And so when you do that, it's going to come here to this view. And then I want to now fetch that data using my name, okay, on this Power Virtual Agent. Okay, so quickly, let me show you the table that I created. It's called Incident Management. So I just created this on my data verbs.
That's yeah, my database. Okay, so I have this here. And then this is the data that I've already fed into it. As you can see, Jerry Sanusi, which is here on my portal, Jerry Sanusi. I also have Biden, Jonathan. I also have it here. So I want to request that maybe somebody should, let me just drop this link here. I believe we should be able to just create a record. Okay, so URL. So what I want us to do first is to build a chatbot that can fetch data from here. Right. Okay, so we can just go ahead and, instead of ending it here, let's just delete this action and say, for example, if you are done filling it, okay, I want to now fetch information. So you recall when I clicked on this plus, okay, apart from me asking a question, there are other options here that I can do. I can show a message, I can call an action, I can go to another topic, I can end the conversation. So I want to call an action. I want to build a flow that will go into this database and fetch data. That's what I want to do now. So by default, it asks me to create a flow. I'm going to click on create a flow. And then it's going to just present to me the flow table. Okay, so before I proceed, let me explain how this is going to work. So what I want to do from this is that, let's say I were to be Jerry Sanusi, right? I want to put in my name. Okay, let's say I put in my first name or my last name. So I want it to go into this database and fetch for me the ticket ID of the case I created, right? And I want it to fetch it for me and just give that to me. Let's just put that, for example, maybe the resolution provided. So just go into the database, fetch for me the ticket ID, and then fetch for me maybe resolution provided, and give me my name. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So let's go back to the flow. Now, recall when we were doing Power Automate that to every trigger, there is a corresponding action, right? So the first thing is you create a trigger, and then you have list of actions. So the trigger for this flow to work is what? I need to add an input. So I'm saying from here, from this chatbot, when I type in my name, which is going to be the input, I want it to go to this database and fetch for me this value and this value. Is that clear? So again, let me repeat that. So from the chatbot, I want to put in an input, which is my name, and then I want it to go to the database to fetch my ticket ID and present it to me. So that is what we are seeing here. So by default, again, I didn't have to, crack my head what Power Virtual Agent connector is called. I want to add an input here, and then I call it input name. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. So when I put that input, so what I want to do now is for it to fetch from the database. If you click on this sign, let's add an action. Again, there are multiple connectors, but you know where my database is. My database is not SQL. My database is not SharePoint. My database is not SAP. My database is where? Is Microsoft Dataverse. So we used to call this Common Data Service, but now it's called Dataverse. So that is where I wanted to fetch it from. So what do? I just type in that database. I may not know the name of the action. Let me just type in the name of the database, which is Microsoft Dataverse. So once I click on this, I want it to list for me the fields, right? So now that I've gotten to the connector, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to perform this action, listing all the fields in which table. Again, it's asking me to select which table. This is my table, incident management. So I want to reference what? Incident management table from this connector. So I'm going to scroll to where I have incident management. Incident management, where are you? There you have it. This is the table that has my data. Okay, and while I'm in incident management, so I want to kind of say, you know what I want to enter here is just my name, okay? And I may not enter my full name, maybe just my first name or just my last name, okay? And then I'm saying, just filter this for me and present it to me. So there's actually a function that you use. It's called, I'm sure many of us are familiar with it. It's called contains. Okay, so we are saying if my input, if the value for name contains the one I'm going to write in. So what is the schema name for my name? I apologize if I'm sounding too fast. So what I'm trying to do here is that I want to reference the name, the schema name for my name field here, which is first name. So if it contains this, okay, and then what contains it? There's an input that has been provided there already. Just a minute. Input name, this, and then I just copy it. Don't worry about the complexity here. What I'm simply doing here is saying, go to the table called incident management, filter by my name. Okay, so if the name I've typed in here, this input here in Power Virtual Agent, if it contains this, I'm saying, in other words, if it's Jerry I typed in here, okay, and so go and look for Jerry in this table and return it to me. That's what this condition or this expression, that's what it simply means. So the next thing I now want to do is to initialize what my output variable will look like. Okay, so my output is going to be, let's just initialize variable. Again, this could be a little bit complex or too much. Just don't worry, just follow. By the time you get your hands dirty with this and you are more hands-on, you are going to get a lot more familiar with this. So I want to call it, I want to call my output, what's it called now? Ticket output. Okay, and it should be of type string. It should be of type string. Okay, so what I now want to do now is to append that output to a string variable. Append to string variable. This is what I have. So what I've done is to initialize a variable first, then I want to now append it to what? To actually a variable at the back end here. Ticket output. So what's going to be the value? Yeah. So the value will be, I'm expecting what? I'm expecting incident ID. Incident ID. So let's go and look for the field in this dynamic content. What is incident ID called? Ticket ID. Good. And then I also wanted to provide those dates. What was the dates of this this thing? When was it created? Created on? Do I want to add resolution provided? Resolution provided. That, yeah. That resolution provided. There you go. So once I do that, the last thing I want to just do before I output it is I want it to come out in a form of a compose. This may actually sound like a lot, okay, but trust me, it's just one of those, those whatever funkified stuff that we have here just to, so I'm saying this output, make it come in a compose, and then I now want to return the output here. So the output now is out. Oh, sorry, so I'm clicking here. Click variable for that will be ticket output, and it should be my compose value, which is the output. Okay, so let me just quickly go through this again. This is the input coming from the chatbot. Okay, so this is the name I've entered from the chatbot. And I've said, go to the database, go to my table called incident management to fetch that data. Use this filter. Now, Once it's filtered, initialize what my output will be. It's going to be of type string. Okay, and then in this condition, I'm saying this is how I want it to be presented, what my output values. You can have multiple fields to show you. I want it to show me my ID. I want it to show me my date. I want it to show me resolution provided, and so on and so forth. Okay, and so when that is done, sorry, and that go, yeah. When that is done, just add, I mean, the output should be in a compose function and then just return. Okay, so let's name this flow as get ticket details. And then we'll save this. So what we've done is the flow that will go to this database to fetch this data, we've just created it. Now we need to access or call that flow from our Power Virtual Agent. Now this is our Power Virtual Agent, right? We're already at this point. We want to introduce it here. That at this point, I want you to ask me a question. What is my name? Okay, and then this name variable, instead of using multiple choice, now there are so many other variables I can use. I want it to capture my entire response. I want it to put it in a variable called name variable. Okay, put it in this variable. And then when you put it in this variable, now go and call that flow to take in my name, go to the database, fetch my details and present it to me. So you can see this is the flow that we created, get ticket details. Now, by default, the action as presented is as taking this input, okay, name variable, and this input name that I've already defined here, okay, and then I'm already now selecting what the output would be. This is what the output would be. Okay. Okay, so take this variable and then give me an output. And my output would be what now? Ticket output. Then end this. Okay, so there was just a lot of things I did here. So let me go back. So I'm saying take my input as my name, put it in a variable called this, go to Microsoft Power Automate the flow, call that flow, get my ticket details from the database, and present the output from that flow and put it in a message. So let's just quickly go and try this out. Let's test with an existing record called Jerry, and let's see if that will work. So now we're trying to save our flow, save our chatbot. Let's test this. Let's start from the beginning. The beginning again is one of these triggers. Let's put woke beep. One of the trigger. Hi there, welcome to WorkBeef. Specify your area of interest, perhaps. Would that be all? Yes. Enter your name. My name is Jerry. Go to the flow and call that data for me. Incident case 04 2021. Let's confirm first. That's what I have. CAS 04 created on this date. And this is what I have. 18/6/2021, 18/6/2021, and this time I think 10:15 p.m. or 9:15. So it took 1 hour. That's my time zone. So let's check Biden to see if Biden will come out. Did I answer your question? No. I wanted to go back. Refresh. Let's just start. Let's start the bot again. So this time I want to use Biden as a case study. Can I help you? Yes, you can help me. Would that be all? Yes. Enter your name. Biden is my name, right? So when I type in Biden, I want you to fetch Biden's case details for me. CAS 03, right? Let's go back. CAS 03. What date? 18/6/21. 18/6/21. This one has a resolution value, which is what? This has been resolved. This is what? This has been resolved. Now, can I send this portal ID to the Teams chat? Did anybody create any? Can you just try and create one? Just create a new record. Can somebody try and just click on it? You don't need to sign in. It's publicly available website. You'll be able to create something. Just create a new. It's someone creating something. So this is what you see. Just go to new incidents. Just type in your first name, last name, this. Yeah, and let's just see how that will work. This is what you're trying to create. Yeah, so can somebody just try that out? Let's just see before we close it from here. Okay, so let me create one incident. Let's call this Moji. So I'm creating one on your behalf. Allow it for moji@wordpeep.com. Incident type is, let's say this, and then let's submit this. So let's see what happens. Let's go to Moji's record. Moji should have CAS05 created today, right? Let's go to our chatbot and test this. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Let's this again. Error. That's the trigger. Perhaps inquiry. Would that be all? Please enter your name. My name is Moji. I wanted to put in the case ID. CAS05. CAS05. What date? 19/6. What date? 19/6. Okay. Let me refresh it. We have a new record. Hello, can you hear me? Esther, are you still there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's
so I
just that
was
created new incident management is what I'm trying to do. I have to go to create new, then it's going to automatically add to this incident management. Because I'm trying to create.
Yeah, click on new incident.
Okay.
Hi, can you refresh? I just created one now.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Oh, yes. So we have for Temitayo. Let's check Temitayo's through the chat. So yeah, Temitayo, you're very, I mean, you are not happy with this service, and then you want to just find out what's going on. You are chatting with the bot. Welcome to this, So I want to know. So enter your name. So your name here is Temitayo, right? So let's type in Temitayo, and then I expect it to fetch Temitayo's new case. So Temitayo's case ID is CAS06, CAS06, and it was just created now. Great, thanks Temitayo. Thanks for creating that. Do we have a new one? Okay, Esther just created one. So Esther should be CAS07. Let's go back and test. Let's go back and test. Error, that's the trigger. Perhaps inquiry. Would that be all? Yes. So what's Esther's name? Esther's name is Esther. So type in Esther. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So it's all right. So I guess that's it. That's it. So you can decide to go back and just rebuild your flow. So what we've simply done here quickly is again to show how you can just build your flow. So as the customer, I want to follow up on a case, right? So you could use this. So for example, you have someone that's been complaining, instead of them having to come to you physically or call you on your cell phone. Once you have a chatbot created like this, publish it to your website, and then they can interact with the chatbot. Once they are, they could be the case ID this time. That start with the case ID, use the case ID to fetch our CRM or to fetch our customer engagement application to just give me the status of my application. There are so many ways you can go about this. It is absolutely up to you, based on your requirements, based on your use case, and based on your environment. Are there any questions on the chatbot application? Any comments?
Please, if you have any question, please can we drop or notify if you have any question?
Okay, so let me say this. There's, I even myself, I feel this is just a lot of information. Trust me, I feel that way. But the interesting part about this is that as a user, right, you can start feeling like you are building something. So you know how it used to be in the IT world, the traditional approach before now was that you have to learn a programming language. You must be able to build something. And by the way, these portals that you all, Esther and Timotheo, accessed, this was built using Power Apps portals, right? So, this is also part of the low code application capabilities that Microsoft also, offers. So, and I built all this, even the flows that we did, the chatbot that we did, without writing a single code. So you can start to appreciate the fact that, you can build something without necessarily having to be a developer, without having necessarily to be someone that understands a lot complexity in data science or whatever it is. The only requirement is for you to know what use case, what's the flow, what's going to be your requirement, your use case. So if we go back again to the first one we built, which is for the flow, to handle the forms, the documents that are sent to us as an attachment. If you look at this, this hierarchy, this flow process, for example, when I receive a new email, so I don't have to come here and start building. I just need to understand how the process will work. When the document comes as an email, I want to extract the data. I want to post it in Teams, and then I want to act based on the actions, if I approved it or not. And then after that, I want it to go into my table database and create an item. So once you kind of figure that out on a normal, piece of paper, this is how the flow should be. Then you come to Power Automate and just start designing like this. So the first thing is for you to have that requirements, systems understanding, because you're a business user, you understand your process more than IT users would be. Okay, because if you had given this an IT user, you probably need to go back and do a lot of testing. It's not working, it's working, and then you do that cycle back and forth. But because you have the capability, you are armed with the skill set, you can just come into this tool, build something as simple as this, and test it yourself. Same with the Power Virtual Agent. Just come here. Oh, how should it work? I want my customer to be able to chat with the bot first. And then if they're unable to get resolution, then they now come to us. So this way, internally, people want to ask questions from HR. How do I expense retirement? How do I go on leave? How do I get my pay slip? How do I do all this? How do I do all that? All those frequently asked questions, those FAQs. You can just build a chatbot that can, handle all those problems to the bot, train the bot, and then the bot will respond. Same with IT. If you are with IT, okay, somebody needs to complain about a faulty PC, a faulty mouse, a faulty desktop, whatever it is, just build a chatbot. Okay, same with admin, same with finance, and so on and so forth. So this session is to expand your mind, okay, and start to create a lot of scenarios in your mind. And maybe you probably run your own business on your own. One day, once you have your own setup, you want your processes automated like this. This is just one of those tools that you can use to quickly spin things up and then start building and developing. Okay, so I think for today, this is it from me. I'll probably send a couple more resources through Esther to the community, so we can continue to learn more, try out a lot of advanced complex scenarios. And then if we have questions or any inquiries subsequently, please feel free to reach out to me through Esther Omojisola, our Amiable founder, and then we'll be happy to support you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for your attention.
All right. Before you go off, I have a question. Uh, that's good. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Please, where you go, I have a question. These terms of chat box, does it mean
Yes.
is it only for customers? Can it be built within within an organization, maybe an internal chat box, maybe from one department to another, or that needs to solve an issue or anything?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what you've done is, let's say we built it, right? And then I want to publish it. Okay. So let's say I publish my chatbot, publish it. And then after publishing it, you can even surface it on Teams. Okay. So you can surface this on Teams, for example. Where is it again? So, okay. Yeah. So testbot, publish chatbot. Okay, so we've done this. After you publish, you can try it out on multiple channels. So these are multiple channels that you can use. Go to your channels of choice. Try it out on Microsoft Teams. Turn on your Teams. Just follow the process. Let's say I have a channel here on Teams, right? And you know that for Teams users, you are most definitely an internal user, right? So once you submit an admin approval, I create a channel somewhere here. It will just be surfaced for people within my organization. And if you just want it to be on a demo website, you just probably need to just extract it and put it to an HTML page or a CSS page, for example. Let's just call this Whoop chatbot. Yeah, so let's see. So this is the URL. Save. And I URL here. Yeah, for big chatbot. So this could like maybe your customer facing application, right? You know, and it could also be your internal facing application, just the same process. Okay, so now you're now saying this is it. Chatbot is facing, would that be all? What is my name? I think my name is Jerry. It has not changed. And then it's going to fetch everything. So just the same thing. So I could just embed this. Okay, this is it. There's a part where you need to just go and embed the code, put it to any of these channels. You can see it can be on Facebook, it can be on Microsoft Teams, Slack, Telegram, and so on and so forth. So there is absolutely no limitation to the number of channels, okay, that can house this chatbot. Yeah, so to your question, it can be to your internal people via Teams. It can be to a custom website, okay, that is customer facing. You can even put it to a mobile app. You can put it to Facebook, any of the social media channels. And then, yeah, not Twitter, because I think Twitter is banned. So you can't use Twitter, you can't say Twitter right now. But any of these other channels, yeah, you can use that.
All right, thank you. Temitayo, I saw you were raising up your hand. Do you have anything to say?
Yes, I was actually trying to ask the same question you asked.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
About how to deploy the app. Yes, thank you. And he has answered you. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
So just out of curiosity, Eva, I'd like to ask from this from those of us that are in right now, what's our typical job function? Are we in customer facing organizations? Are we in IT? Are we in just randomly, just out of curiosity. Just again, we could from this session start to generate ideas and think of how best we can skill up. We have people from banks, from maybe retail, manufacturing, and so on, or personal businesses. And then somehow you are thinking as we are going through, you've seen a use case, you've seen how you can use this kind of thing. Anybody? Oh, I think I need to stop sharing so I can see the Teams chart. Oh, okay. I think someone is trying to type something. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Esther. I think back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeremiah. Sincerely, this has been an amazing section. At least I followed from beginning end to end, and it has really, even if I don't have my STEM going on and going off, but at least the way I was following with the way you're doing it step by step, I was able to follow. I'm sure that's too. I've been able to learn one thing or the other in today's training. So for all our members, I want to say thank you very much to Jeremiah. Thank you for your time. Thank you for at least giving us the knowledge. And please, can we appreciate Jeremiah? Everybody, please, can we appreciate Jeremiah? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So to our members, once thank you for joining. And we've been able to go through the Microsoft Power Platform. At least we've done the Power Apps. Today we did the Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents. We're able to do 2 in 1 today. And the one we are left with in the Power Microsoft platform is the Power BI. And it's going to be amazing. Our founder will be the one taking us on Power BI. So let's anticipate for that. And by the time we finish with that, we'll be able to round up. At least we should be able to know that we've acquired the skill from which we've acquired the skill of the Microsoft Power Platform. Wow. No, it's there. So these skills are skills that